So friends, in our gospel this morning, we see Jesus, we see him engage in this confrontation with the powers and the forces of darkness, this unclean spirit. If you were to ask, if you were to take a poll, this Sunday, everyone who comes in, they get a poll. Ask the question, why did Jesus show up? Why did God become flesh? I think you'd get just about as many answers as you have people taking polls. The answer in the Scriptures, the letter to Timothy, spells it out clearly that the reason the Son of Man appeared was to destroy the works of the devil. He came to confront an enemy. He came to fight. He came to liberate a people under the dominion of darkness. He came to destroy the works of the devil. And the ones who knew it certainly were the demons. You see this in the Scriptures. Like the possessed man that we have in this gospel today. He asks the question, have you come to destroy us? At first person plural. Have you come to destroy us? Jesus doesn't explicitly answer the question, but what is the answer to the question? Yes. Have I come to destroy you? Yeah, I have. And that word that we hear that Jesus says, quiet, come out of him. That word would be better rendered in English as be gagged, be unable to speak, be silenced. Or on the cross, when Christ, at the very culmination, we hear those words in English, it is finished. I don't know about you, but for most of my, discipleship life, I heard those words as the final, exasperated, desperate cry, and he's just finally letting go. It is finished, and he fades. I don't think that's how it actually went down, though. I think that it is finished was a much more intense phrase. I see Jesus staring right into the face of Satan, who had gathered around him at the cross, and he's looking at him and he's saying, it is finished, as in you are finished, as in this dominion of darkness is finished, that Jesus came to trample over sin and death, and through his death he invades the enemy's stronghold and he crushes the enemy, he crushes death. And all things, we hear, all things, as the author to the letter to the Hebrews that we heard this morning, all things have been subjected to him, meaning that he is the Lord. Dominus. That's what that means. Everything that you can point to, everything you can point and gesture to, he looks at it and says, that's mine. And yet, as this letter continues, we can see that not all is subjected to him. Like this man in the gospel, in the synagogue who's possessed. There is still lots of territory that the enemy occupies. There's still lots of territory that he owns, that he has been defeated, and yet he still seems to reign. I think the best analogy I've ever heard about this is, go back to World War II. That when the Allies landed in D-Day, June 6, 1944, every critical observer of European history, everyone saw this and said, that's it. It's over. It is finished. It's done. And yet the war still raged on for many, many, many months. That there was a long time, there was a big gap between June 6, 1944 and VE Day on May 8, 1945. A lot of fighting still happened in between those dates. In fact, some of the bloodiest battles of the whole war were fought in between D-Day and VE Day. The Battle of the Bulge, 75,000 Americans, 90,000 Germans died in that one battle alone. We live in between D-Day and VE Day. That was D-Day, Christ landing, Christ defeating the enemy, Christ storming the gates of hell, breaching the seawall, if you will. But the final culminating definitive end of all things, the second coming, the final devastation of the enemy hasn't happened yet. We live in the in-between. We live in the in-between, the already and the not yet. So our mission, until the Lord calls us home or until he comes back, whichever comes first, our mission is to reclaim territory for the Father. That's the mission of every Christian. Your mission is not to be a mass-going Catholic. That's an obligation. That's a commandment. But your mission, as you're sent forth from here, is to reclaim territory from the enemy. to reclaim territory for God the Father. And it can seem like the forces of evil are overwhelming, but we fight with immensely powerful weapons. We fight with mercy and forgiveness. We fight with love and charity. We fight with the heart of Jesus. That's how we fight. So your mission, as soon as you depart from here, is, Father, how can you use me? Use me to reclaim territory, to be a light to people who are still held in bondage, that I can shine light into people's darkness, that I can be provocative in the way that I'm living my life. Help me to reclaim territory for the kingdom.